Hello, good evening. Sorry for starting the show so late. What we have visited the different sects that were, each one chose a different purpose in life. And we finished it with the faction that maintained that the only goal in life, the main goal, was to pray to Hashem and to be humble and lowly. And they sought to themselves a prayer leader and made him king. So we went through all the different factions. The one that declared that honor was the prime directive, the one that said that war is the one that said that beauty is, and so forth and so on. And we said that all these factions have actually a root in the truth. But it is when you separate it from Hashem, and then instead of becoming something that elevates you, it becomes something that brings you down. So this was the story about all these factions was what one of the soldiers told the master of prayer. And the soldier explained that he and the other soldiers have joined the mighty warrior. They belong to a faction of bodybuilders who took as their king a man with a large body. Now this is very important. There was a sikha of Rabbeinu after he told this particular story, that Rabbi Nassim and Naftali were talking among themselves who it is that was telling these stories. So they came to ask Rabbeinu about this. And Rabbeinu said that it is indeed one of the soldiers of the mighty warrior, and it makes a very great difference who it is that told the story, because every single detail of these stories is extremely precise and important. Now, that the faction of the mighty warrior is talking about the gvuros, the power to constrict, being that the Kadosh Baruch Hu is infinite. Everything that the Kadosh Baruch Hu will create will be equally infinite. There has to be, nothing can be created if everything is infinite. So the power to constrict infinity obviously has to be, equally powerful. This is the Midas Gvura with which Kadosh Baruch Hu wanted to create the world. Actually started creating the world with that. So this is what this soldier is telling them. One day, a group of these men were following the main group with the supply wagons, carrying food and drink and the like. We're talking about these are bodybuilders. Obviously, food and drink and the like is very crucial for them. So in general, people are very afraid of these bodybuilders since they were large and powerful men. Whoever encountered them would turn aside from the road to avoid them. As this camp was traveling, they encountered a warrior. When he encountered the camp, he did not turn aside from the road. Instead, he went right into the middle of the camp and scattered the men in all directions. And the men of the camp were very much afraid of him. And he went into the wagons that were following the camp and ate all the provisions. It was a great wonder in their eyes. He was so strong that he was not afraid of the entire camp, right to the middle of them, and ate all the provision. So these men immediately fell before him and exclaimed, Lord, long live the king. They knew that this mighty warrior certainly qualifies as king, since their opinion, the main goal was to be a bodybuilder. Therefore, the king would relinquish the kingdom, since they had found a mighty warrior with such a bodybuilding, and a bodybuilder, to rule them. Now, this mighty warrior who they accounted was accepted as a king to the group. And the soldier concluded, he is the mighty warrior with whom we are now conquering the world. But he said that he had an ulterior motive for wanting to conquer the world. His intent is not that the world be subject to him, but he has a completely different motive. This is the point where the master of prayer encounter gets together with the mighty warrior, there with the men of the king, which we spoke about. And it is, whenever it is that a person is preparing a way for himself to advance in any endeavor, in any area of life, especially spiritually, the higher he goes in whatever area he chooses to develop, the bigger he gets, the bigger the stakes, and the bigger the obstacles. This is represented with the mighty warrior, the midah of Gevurah. Now, the midah of the Gevurah is contained in the very highest level, what we call the level of Bina, as the Bina is the level that differentiates, the undifferentiated force of creation. So if we said the midah of Chachma is the data, the midah of the Bina is the logical system with which you can process the data and make sense of it. It is the beginning of the Gevurah. However, the Bina has a door, which is the Malchus. The Bina of the Malchus, the Malchus has, it's the ultimate judgments, the ultimate constrictions are in the midah of the Malchus. Comes a question, the midah of the Malchus is that trait that gives life to the world. It gives existence to the world. What is the midah of dinim? What is the judgments? What is the Gevurah need to be there? The answer is that the midah of judgment and constriction is there in order to direct the forces it controls to the good. Meaning, you can look at it as the police. The police is there not in order to beat up people or to make people afraid of them. The police is there in order to make sure that the forces of all the people in the country that is directed towards good, that is disciplined, that chaos does not reign. That is the purpose of the dinim in the Minas Malchus. For us, in our lives, the in of din is the thing that constricts our point of view. So we can look at the purpose of life, and it needs to direct us specifically towards that. We're not here to eat. We're not here to win the World Series. We are here in order to advance and reach our purpose as people. So this is the reason why the warrior, the mighty warrior, says he is not interested in subjugating the entire world, to serve him. That's not his purpose. His purpose is to direct the people who naturally want to go wayward, want to fulfill their heart's desires. His purpose is to limit them and direct them and focus them on the purpose of life itself. When a person advances with his life, and when a person is very young, so the sky's the limit. You can basically do whatever it is that you want, almost. You're physically capable of doing practically anything you want. And the focus of people is very much on where they are right now. But as you advance, as a person advances with time, the abilities, those exuberance of youth and physical prowess is basically paired off little by little. And the purpose of all this is to focus a person on the purpose of life. Before then, when a person is in his teens, in his 20s, the person looks good, so he pays attention to looking good. A person can work hard, so they either put the purpose to fighting or to making money, or various careers. And the thing is that as you get older, as a person gets older, these abilities are paired off one by one, degree by degree, and you realize that physical attractiveness is not the name of the game, though there are civilizations one after another that basically looks at aging as a mask. The idea is that you look young, you still look, remember when the actor Paul Newman was in his 80s. So people said that he looked very good for his age. That means that he was wearing, as it were, a very good mask. It masked his real age and made him look that much younger. So obviously, this is a losing battle. The purpose of this pairing off, that's the work of the mighty warrior. It takes off another attribute, another feeling of invincibility, of potency, and that causes a person to focus himself on what is the purpose in life. That's the purpose, that's the ulterior motive of the mighty warrior. Now he's coming together with the master of prayer. So this is what he says. This mighty warrior who is your king as the master of prayer, what sort of power does he have? So the soldier replied to him, there is one land they did not want to surrender to him. The mighty warrior took his sword and has three powers. When he lifted it, all the enemy officers fled. Then he described the three powers of the mighty warrior's sword, as we have discussed earlier. When the master of prayer heard this, he realized that this was certainly the mighty warrior who had been with his king. The master of prayer asked if it would be possible to him to meet with the mighty warrior who is their king. They replied that they would have to speak to the mighty warrior and ask if he would grant an audience. When they asked, he granted the audience. And when master of prayer came, the mighty warrior immediately recognized one another. They both were very happy being united. Their joy, however, was intermingled with tears. And remember, the king and his men, they wept. Therefore, the two of them rejoiced and wept. Question is like, what does rejoicing and weeping have to do with one another? When do people weep? During great joy. People weep during great joy if the road to that joy was strewn with difficulties. A chavrusa of mine has a sister-in-law that had an operation when she was a girl, and she became paraplegic. And obviously she had great difficulty getting married. But she did. A few months ago, she got betrothed and she got married to a boy that had his own problem, but whatever it is. And Carissa told me, on the eve of hold on, let's see. Oh, okay. Hold on a second. Just 9 and hold on. No. So you can imagine the evening that they made, the engagement. There wasn't a dry eye for both families. All the difficulty that they had to go through, and they went through. And how many times have both the kala and the chassan basically have given up? Nobody would want anybody like them. Together with the despair, the difficulties, the pain, by them, by the families. When there's a breakthrough, the joy is immense. And commensurately with what kind of obstacles they had to go through in order to reach that point, this is how the crying comes about. The release. When the master of prayer and the mighty warrior get together, this is the beginning of the Geulah, of salvation. Tefillah start to get the upper hand. Until now, people with the biggest armies, with the biggest bodybuilders, biggest wealth, biggest whatever, they're the one that rule the roost. But now, the warrior and the prayer, the gvuros and the prayer get together. That means that until now, the trials and tribulations, which are the result of the gvuros, seemed random. Something natural causes or whatever. But when the prayer gets united with the gvuros, meaning that there are gvuros, but they are mitigating by prayers, and the prayers change reality. This is when the kingdom of Hashem starts revealing itself. People start getting used to the idea that it's not in our hands. We don't control it, but prayer does. It's the beginning of the Geulah. With this, B'ezrat Hashem, we will finish this particular session, and B'ezrat Hashem, beginning of the next week, we will talk about what happened with the master prayer and the mighty warrior. Now, this Wednesday, B'ezrat Hashem, we're going to have a share Wednesday and Thursday because basically just Rosh Chodesh. Wednesday, Rosh Chodesh, 9 days. There's no Hashem, there's no problem. So B'ezrat Hashem will see one another on Wednesday night, and we will continue B'ezrat Hashem, maybe even conclude Torah Samach Beis, number 62 in Likutei Moharan, and continue going from there. So thank you for being with me, and B'ezrat Hashem, we'll meet together on Wednesday. Let's just see how do we get this.